Before humans ever opened their eyes, before Adam breathed his first breath, before the earth knew footsteps or voices, something already existed. This question is rarely asked, and even more rarely explored deeply, yet it sits quietly beneath everything we believe about God, creation, and purpose. What existed before humans were created is not a simple question, because the Bible does not answer it loudly. Instead, it whispers clues, fragments, and shadows that demand attention from anyone willing to think beyond the surface. Most people rush to Genesis and stop at the creation of Adam, but creation did not begin with humanity. Something was already in motion long before humans appeared. There was already structure, order, intention, and activity. The silence before humanity was not empty. It was filled with meaning. When Scripture opens with the words, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," it immediately tells us something profound. God already existed. Time itself began there, but God did not. That alone introduces a mystery the human mind struggles to hold. If God existed before time, then existence itself did not start with us. Humanity entered a story already unfolding. Before humans, there was God, self-sufficient, complete, lacking nothing, needing no validation or companionship. This challenges a common but shallow idea that God created humans because he was lonely. Scripture never supports that. God was not incomplete before humans. He was already sovereign, already powerful, already surrounded by glory. So if God was complete, then why create anything at all? This question pulls us deeper. Before humans, there was the spiritual realm. Angels already existed. Scripture hints at an organized heavenly order, ranks, authority, and purpose long before Adam walked the earth. Angels were not created as decorations. They were ministers, messengers, watchers, and servants of God's will. Job gives one of the clearest glimpses when it says that the morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy as the foundations of the earth were laid. That means before humans existed, there was worship, there was awareness, there was intelligence observing creation unfold. The universe was not silent when God began forming the world. It was witnessed. This alone should slow us down. Humanity was not the first conscious being to observe God's power. Before humans, there was order. Light was created before life. Separation existed before society. God divided light from darkness, waters from waters, heavens from earth. This tells us that God values structure before inhabitants, meaning before filling, preparation before purpose. The world was shaped intentionally before humans were placed within it. That reveals something about how God operates. He prepares environments before assigning responsibility. Humans were not dropped into chaos. They were placed into a world already functioning. Before humans, there was also rebellion. This is where the mystery deepens and many avoid the subject. Scripture suggests that a fall occurred before Adam's fall. Satan did not become the adversary after humans were created. He was already fallen when he encountered Eve. This means evil existed before humanity sinned, not in humanity, but in the spiritual realm. That realization unsettles many people because it raises uncomfortable questions. If rebellion existed before humans, then humanity was created into a universe where choice and opposition already existed. This does not mean God created evil. It means God created free will, and free will introduce the possibility of rebellion. Before humans, there was already a lesson unfolding in the unseen realm about obedience, authority, and consequence. Humanity did not invent sin. Humanity encountered it. This reframes the human story entirely. Before humans, there was purpose. God did not experiment with creation. He did not stumble into humanity accidentally. Scripture repeatedly reveals intentionality. Everything created before humans served as preparation for human existence. The earth was made to sustain life. Plants were created before eaters. Light before sight. Atmosphere before breath. This sequence matters. It shows design, not randomness. Before humans, there was patience. God worked step by step. He did not rush to humanity. He allowed creation to unfold in stages. That patience reflects his nature. He does not hurry outcomes. He builds foundations. This is important because it tells us something about how God still works today. He often prepares long before revealing. Before humans, there was authority already established. God spoke and creation responded. His word carried power before there were ears to hear it. His voice shaped reality before humans existed to listen. That means God's authority does not depend on human belief. Truth does not exist because humans acknowledge it. It exists because God speaks it. This challenges modern thinking that centers humanity as the measure of meaning. Humanity is not the axis of existence. God is. Before humans, there was beauty. The heavens were formed with detail, stars placed deliberately, systems established with precision. Beauty did not exist for human appreciation alone. It existed because God values beauty. This matters because it reveals that creation is not merely functional. It is expressive. Before humans, God expressed creativity, complexity, and excellence. That creativity was not necessary for survival. It was intentional. Before humans, there was silence and sound, darkness and light, movement and stillness. God interacted with creation personally. He did not delegate creation. He spoke directly. This intimacy with creation existed before humans were present, which raises another quiet question. If God interacted with creation before humans, then humanity was invited into an existing relationship, not the beginning of one. Humans entered a world where God was already active, already involved, already engaged. Before humans, there was expectation. Scripture hints that humanity held a unique role. Humans were created in God's image, not angels, not animals. That suggests that everything before humanity was preparation for something distinct. Humans were given dominion, responsibility, stewardship. This implies that creation was waiting, not waiting passively, but positioned intentionally. Before humans, creation was incomplete, not flawed, but awaiting a role only humans could fulfill. That role carried weight. It carried risk. It carried consequence. Before humans, there was freedom. God did not create robots. He allowed choice to exist even when it led to rebellion. This freedom existed before humans, proving that God values genuine allegiance over forced obedience. That same freedom would later be extended to humanity, which explains why God allowed the tree in the garden. The pattern already existed. Choice was part of the system. Before humans, God had already demonstrated restraint. He allowed angels to choose, and he would allow humans to choose. This consistency reveals his character. Before humans, there was knowledge. God understood outcomes before beginnings. Scripture repeatedly shows that God knows the end from the beginning. This means that when God created humans, he already knew the fall would happen. He already knew redemption would be required, which leads to one of the deepest mysteries of all. If God knew humanity would fall, why create them anyway? The answer is not simple, but Scripture points toward love that values relationship over risk avoidance. Before humans, God already understood sacrifice. Revelation describes Christ as the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That phrase is staggering. It suggests that redemption was planned before humanity existed. Before humans sinned, provision for restoration already existed. That means before humans, there was grace. Grace was not an afterthought. It was built into creation. Before humans, there was a plan that accounted for failure without endorsing it. This reveals a depth of wisdom beyond human comprehension. God did not react to human failure. He anticipated it without preventing choice. Before humans, God had already decided that love was worth the cost. This transforms how we view existence. Humanity is not a mistake God is managing. Humanity is a choice God made fully aware of the consequences. Before humans, there was intention to dwell. Scripture later says that God walked with Adam in the cool of the day. That implies that God desired closeness, not because he lacked companionship, but because he chose to share existence. Before humans, God already desired relationship. But relationship requires freedom, and freedom carries risk. Before humans, God accepted that risk. This reframes the entire human story as an act of intentional vulnerability by a sovereign God. Before humans, there was meaning waiting to be expressed through beings capable of reflection, creativity, moral reasoning, and love. Before humans, God prepared a stage, not for entertainment, but for partnership. Humans were invited to participate in creation, to name, to steward, to cultivate. That invitation only makes sense if everything before humans was preparation for collaboration. Before humans, there was also warning. The existence of rebellion in the spiritual realm served as a silent lesson. Choice has consequences. Authority matters. Alignment matters. Humans were created into a universe where these truths already existed. Humanity was not naive to the concept of consequence. They were introduced to it immediately through the command regarding the tree. Before humans, God had already demonstrated that boundaries are not oppression, but protection. Before humans, God had already shown that rebellion fractures harmony. This understanding deepens the tragedy of the fall. Humanity did not fall because they were uninformed.